Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my live stream where I am going to be going over the Swatch Formula Worksheet that I created just for all of you who asked for an actual formula on paper to walk you through how I went through all the steps for my Swatch series. And I really appreciated you asking because that Swatch series was a big deal for me. It was really my reveal on showing you how I obtain the numbers that I obtain. And Barrett, come here. How I obtain the numbers that I obtain whenever I create a pattern, when I write my patterns, when I'm making my blankets, and how I am able to figure out how many stitches or how many chains to make in the foundation row, how many stitches will need to be in that or in every row, how many rows I'm going to need to make, and even going as far as how much yarn approximately I'm going to need in order to make my projects. And so I went through all 4 videos explaining like what a swatch is, how why we use a swatch, how to get the numbers, and then what to do with the numbers. But I did realize after that 4th video that I was speaking a lot to you. And yes, I had everything written down for you so you could visually see it. And I even took pictures of all of the formulas, like after every step. When I paused and checked with you guys in video 4, I personally went and took a picture of the board before I moved on. And then I just edited that out of the video so we could just move on, right? So I got all of the information for the 2 swatches that we did, and that was for the half double crochet swatch and the closed scallop swatch. And we're going to go ahead and work with these numbers, filling in the Swatch Formula Worksheet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I'm really glad you could make it. Hi, Mary. So glad you're here. Hi, Kim. Hi, Becky. Hi, Samantha. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Tamara. Hi, Diana. Welcome. I'm so glad you could make it here today. Okay, so big heads up to everyone, and obviously everybody in the chat, this hasn't affected you at all. I'm kind of playing a lone wolf right now. It is just me here with this live. So to prevent having issues with any scammers or anybody coming in and trying to, be a pain in the chat, I turned off chats for anyone other than a subscriber. And so that isn't anything against you. So if you are not a subscriber to my channel and you do have questions, or you do have something you want to mention, or anything you just want to communicate, just wait for this video to finish, and then you can say whatever you want to say or ask me whatever you want to ask in the comment section below this finished video when it is done. This was just my way of trying to eliminate that headache as I am trying to go through this worksheet, show you this information, and at the same time try to pay attention to the chat. Hi, Judy. You made it. Cindy, welcome. So glad you guys could all make it. Welcome, everybody. So happy you are here. Now, just a really quick drop. If you are a member to my channel, use those emojis. Now's a great time to utilize those. Those are yours to go crazy with. Okay, so another heads up. Okay. If you had a chance before this went live, I know I tried to post something to the YouTube. I think I made a short because that was the best way for me to get the information to you as fast as possible in a video format that is, people see videos more than they see just writing. So I wanted to get that to you, that the worksheet is on my website right now. So if you have an opportunity to print it, go there, print it off. It's free. It's free. So just print it off. It's under resources. That way, if you are having trouble seeing what I'm seeing, you can have the physical copy like right there with you, so you can follow along a lot easier. I hope you enjoy it. I literally created this whole thing yesterday. This whole worksheet, this 4-page worksheet, I created using the formulas that I showed you in the series. And I want to pause here for a second. I want to welcome everybody. Joanne, welcome. Amy, welcome. Judy, Elizabeth, life in Janie's crochet world. Welcome. I love seeing your name. I recognize it. Leanne Reed. Leanne, welcome, Leanne. Christine, welcome. Okay, so what was something else? Okay, so last thing I want to mention before we dive in here real quick regarding the live. I am going to have moments where I can focus on the chat and say hi and like review and look. And then I'm going to have moments where I'm going to be like, okay, I'm showing you the sheet. I'm showing you how to do everything. So I'm going to like do a little bit of work, and then I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to look for questions now, or questions or anything relevant. I'm going to check in with you guys. If you have a question, if you could please start your question with a bunch of question marks, that'll help draw my eye to it so I don't miss it. If I do miss your question, feel free to just email me later and I'll try to answer that. I want to answer your question. I don't want you to feel like I overlooked you in any way. Okay. So start your question with a bunch of question marks. So I'm like, oh, there's a question, or if you want to, feel free to use those super chat, super stickers. That also is a great way for me to like notice you right away. All right. Okay. So with that, let's begin. All right. So I'm hoping that you can see everything. Okay. How is everything looking for you guys? Give me a thumbs up. Say everything's looking great. Everything's sounding great. Want to do a check-in with you guys. Hope you're all having an amazing day. Love you guys. I'm glad I caught this. I'm glad you caught it too, Mary. Awesome. I love all the thumbs up. Okay. All right. So this is a 4-page document. So if you would like, feel free to double side print. I single-sided print for this example. So that way I could just show you and I don't have a lot of like writing showing through on the other side of the page. Page 1 of the document is really just gathering all the information. So this page is really important. I have here a little square that I created. This is to represent the swatch you have made. So you would take the swatch you have created, you'd measure it. How wide is it? How long is it? And if you notice, I didn't include inches or centimeters because I don't want to pigeonhole this. If you use centimeters, use centimeters. If you use inches, use inches. All right, then here it's the yarn you used, which is super important when gathering a swatch information because obviously if you used a size 3 weight yarn, lightweight, you're going to have different numbers than if you used a size 4 weight yarn. So super important. Also, some yarns, have you guys noticed, and I'm going to talk about this more, I'm going to make a video soon about WPI, reps per inch, that some size 4 weight yarns is light and some is heavy. And so not all size 4 weight yarns can be treated the same. So if you say, okay, I used this size yarn, but this was the brand, then you'll know, oh, okay, I might want to double check the swatch before I begin. Personal story right here. I made stockings last year for my family, my own classic crochet stocking pattern. I made stockings for everyone in my family. There was one yarn that like all of the yarn was the same brand, stayed in the same family. One of the yarns was a multicolored yarn. For some reason, that yarn ended up causing the stocking was smaller than all the other ones. And I'm like, it's the same weight, same brand, same everything. It's just this was a multicolored stocking, was completely different size. I'm like, what? So we're going to go over that in another video, but that's another example of why it's important to write down the name of the yarn that you used. Then obviously crochet hook size or needle size. So if you're knitting, needle size. And then here it says multiple stitch count requirement. This is a big deal if you're working with a pattern that has a multiple stitch count requirement because we're going to need that number moving forward. If any of this is like, you're going too fast, Tiffany, you're going too fast, just bear with me through this video. Go watch the series. Once you watch the series, it will all make sense. Okay. And then come back and watch this video. All right. So just bear with me if you feel like I'm going a little too fast. Okay. So here I have an example set up for you. And it says a multiple of 3 plus 1. And that's just an example. But if you notice, I wrote the +1 in red. That's going to come up later. I color-coded everything. I tried to make this as easy to look at, as easy to follow along with as possible. I actually went to college to be a teacher. Don't know if anybody else knew that, but I went to college to be a teacher. And so a lot of this connective things, it all comes into play when I like created sheets. But here, you'll see how the +1 is red. That'll all make sense in a second. Okay. So now we have all the information here on our swatch that we created. Now over here is going to be the numbers. All right, let me take a pause. Hi, Tammy, I'm glad you could make it. Sharanya, you're here, yay. Welcome, everybody, welcome. Now, again, if you have any questions, make sure you start the question with a bunch of question marks so that way it draws my eye and I can see it when I have my pause breaks. Okay, so over here, I have the pattern used. I figured right here would be a really good area where you could maybe write the pattern down, like row 1, this is what you do. Row 2, this is what you do. If this is not enough room for you, that's okay. Maybe just grab scrap paper and then include it, like staple it all together. That way you have the pattern with you. So if you want to come back to this, you can, or you can just literally write, I used this pattern. And then you can reference, oh, I know that's in this book. You could even write in here, it's located in this book, page this. Really, just kind of like really helping you out with remembering what the pattern even was that you made the swatch for. All right, so next thing here, it says, how many chains were in the foundation row of your swatch? So here it's important to note, okay, in order to achieve this 4-inch width of my swatch, I chained this many chains. All right, that's just helpful. Next thing down, it says how many stitches or multiples in one row, in row 1. Yeah, how many stitches / multiples in row 1. And I made it blue because it'll come up later. Okay, so I said stitches or multiples because if you recall, here we did the HTC swatch where we just made half double crochet stitches. That was just, we just counted how many stitches were across. But when we did the closed scallop stitch, that we just counted multiples. I had 3 multiples of the multiple stitch count requirement to that was across row 1 of my swatch. So here I would have written 3 multiples. Next, it says how many rows in full swatch. So then you would just take your swatch, have it right next to you, and you'd count how many rows were just in your swatch here. You write that down. That's in the color orange. Next one down. How much yarn was in your full swatch, not including the foundation row? Remember, we went over that in video 3 of the Swatch series, how we took everything apart and measured it all out, but we did not include the foundation row because we don't want to repeat the yarn we used in the foundation row over and over and over again. That would overkill yarn. We would end up having way more yarn than we needed for the project. So there's that. And then here on the bottom, I included yards, meters, grams and ounces. Now for the average person making a swatch, use whatever increment that applies to you. If you want to be a pattern maker and you want to make patterns, you want to sell patterns, you're going to need all 4 of them if possible. Sometimes the yarn that I purchase, if I only provide you yards or grams or something, if I only provide you that information, that's because that was all that was provided to me. But if you have the ability to get all 4 increments, do all 4 increments because patterns are followed by people all over the world. And depending on where you live in the world, they actually refer to a specific one of these. Not everybody does yards, not everybody does meters. So be prepared for that. And then down here, it says how much yarn was in the foundation row. All right, cool. And then of course I have for reference, if you need help, here's my website. For if you need to get the pattern, if you need anything, need to contact me or anything. And then here's my channel if you want to reference the series. Okay, so page 2. Oh, before I go to page 2, because page 2 starts with how many chains in the foundation row. I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm going to look to see if I have any questions before I move forward, because I definitely don't want to leave you guys hanging. All right, let me scroll up. Welcome, everybody. Taking an opportunity to acknowledge everybody who's able to make it to the live today. Thank you so much for spending time with me and going over this with me. If you weren't able to make the live, if you're watching the replay right now, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're watching, and I hope that you enjoy this video. Remember, any members, use those emojis like crazy. Now's your opportunity to go nuts. All right, so looking for question marks. And remember, if I don't get to your question for whatever reason, I missed it, didn't see it, after this live, feel free to add it into the comment section or email me. Oh, I missed saying bye to Jane. Okay. And cool. All right. Oh, question. Hey, got you right away. Check that out. Can I get a copy of the sheet? Yeah, it's free. Go to my website, crochetwithtiffany.com. Click on resources. It's at the very bottom. Yes. Print out as many as you want. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so page 2. We go into how many chains in the foundation row. Okay, you're really going to be able to identify like worksheet mode here, because I did all this, like the arrows I put in there, the little notes I put in there, even like these things, they didn't exist. That's all me. So I wanted this to be pretty, and I wanted it to be easy to look at, easy to follow, but also like fun. I didn't want it to be boring. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's not too much. That was the one thing I was worried about. Is it too much? Okay, so here we've got the desired project width. So the one thing that I did not include with this Swatch Formula Worksheet was project dimension charts, because you could literally use the Swatch formula that I'm providing to you for anything that can be made into a rectangle or a square. Anything that can fit these swatches into it, these swatches, anything you can fit the swatches into evenly, you can use this formula. So for ponchos, some tops, because I know like my Tiffany top is literally 2 rectangles joined together. You could use this. You could use it for obviously blankets, pillows, like even tote bags. If you were just to make 2 rectangle shapes, but you could use it for anything that requires or is made using a rectangle or square. So that's why I didn't have charts included. And in here, I say desired project, and I didn't just say desired blanket, because you could use this for anything. Okay, so desired project width divided by the width of the swatch. And we know the width of the swatch from page 1, where we wrote down the width of the swatch. Okay. And then equals, and then how many swatches wide. So how many swatches could fit across the bottom? Okay. Then we take this answer, and using the arrow, we write that answer right here. Right here says how many swatches wide. So same answer. I'm going to pause here. What did I write here? Do you need to adjust the width of your project for the swatch width to fit evenly? Remember when we were working in video 3 of the Swatch series, we were working up the numbers, and we noticed that some of the dimensions of the blanket that we wanted to make didn't evenly, the swatch we created didn't evenly go into the dimensions of the blanket. So we ended up having to adjust that blanket size. Now, if that happens, that's totally fine. Just make sure that you come back and you erase, or you keep this, keep that, sorry, don't erase that. Go to your project that you want to make and write down, like switch the width number or switch the length number to the new number that the swatch will evenly fit into. Okay. And then each swatch has blank stitches, multiples across. Okay. So each swatch has blank stitches, multiples across. We already answered that number here. What color is it? How many stitches, multiples in row 1? So that's blue. So we've already gathered all the information. We're just putting it places. And that is where this is blue. 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 The number you put for blue here will go in the spot you see blue. I color coded. Blue with blue, orange with orange, pink with pink, green with green. Okay, so if you're like, I don't know what that number is, go back to page 1. It's blue. Look for the blue. All right, and then, so how many stitches wide? The answer we got here, times how many stitches multiples in each row of swatch equals how many stitches multiples in each row. Here I have a reminder. The multiples just mean the number of chains that we had to repeat in the foundation row to achieve our multiple stitch count requirement. So I did write in here multiples. How many multiples? So for example, the closed scallop stitch, we had 3 multiples across for our swatch. 3 multiples across for our swatch. So I would take those 3 multiples times however many swatches I had across. And if I had 10, so it'd be 3 multiples times 10 swatches equals 30 multiples. That's how many I would need to make, is 30 multiples. Now, when it comes to figuring out, okay, well, I now know how many multiples, but how many stitches is that? You go back to the swatch where it says, what is the multiple stitch count requirement? If it was a multiple of 3 and I have 30 multiples, that'd be 30 multiples times 3 stitches. It's 90 chains plus 1. 91. Okay. Hope that is making sense. And then you'll take this number that we just answered, this number, put that number right here. How many stitches or multiples in each row, plus the additional stitch in foundation row for turning chain. The red number. Where's the red number? Right there. Red number. So like I just did with 30 times 3. No, sorry. 3 stitches per multiple. There's 30 multiples. 30 times 3 is 90, so 90 chains, and then plus the red plus 1 is 91. And that will give you how many chains are in your foundation row. Okay, now that I feel like I thoroughly confused everybody, let me check the chat. Okay, question above, question above. Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling up, finding the last question that I answered. And where are you? Nope. Okay, so that didn't show. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay. Looking for question marks. Okay, there I am. Okay, Mary, you said question above. Can I get a copy of the sheet? Was from, I think it's Pooey, P-O-O-E-Y. And yeah, I mentioned that. Oh, here you go, Mary. Okay, I see you now. How do I figure out how much yarn I used in foundation row swatch? Do I have to weigh it. No, in fact, I don't prefer that method, the weighing method. A lot of people do. And honestly, if you are okay with just having your answer be in the ballpark of correct, then weigh your yarn. But if you take that swatch, I showed this in video 3. If you take that swatch and you undo it and you take a measuring tape and you measure out how many inches were in that swatch that you just destroyed, you just frogged. And then you convert inches to yards, and then you can convert yards to meters, conversions. And I show you how to do that in video 3. Then you'll know how much yarn, pretty close to exactly, you're going to need, or you're going to have in the swatch, and then how much is going to translate into the project itself. Okay. I tried doing the weight thing with multiple different projects, and I noticed that the scale did not move for like 2 yards of yarn. I was literally adding I was like, oh my gosh, the number's not changing. The number is not changing. Why is the number not changing? So it's not completely accurate. It'll work, but it's not completely accurate. And in my technique here that I'm showing you, it's as accurate as you're going to get. So you tear apart or you frog the swatch, except for that foundation row chain. You literally pause right at that foundation row chain and stop and measure everything, and then write that number down. And then you just measure what was in that foundation row chain of the swatch alone. So it's not very much. And then you write down that number, and then we work with that. Great question though. Okay, so did I get everybody? Question above. I just don't know why my brain won't process this. It's okay. I'm going over the sheet right now, and then I'm going to do an example. It's okay, Mary. I understand. Wasn't clear to me. Frog the project first. I need to watch the Swatch Series. Jody, you're so funny. Okay. So that is the foundation row chain, how to figure that out. Honestly, next page, page 3, it's how many rows to meet your project length. Super short, very quick. So basically starting with the desired project length divided by the length of the swatch that you made. And again, that information is found here with the swatch you made and how long it was. So desired project divided by the swatch length equals the number of swatches that will fit into the length of the project. And then here again, I add, do you need to adjust the length of the project for the swatch to fit evenly in there? Now, I mentioned this in the Swatch series. You don't technically have to figure out, or you don't technically have to change the dimensions of your finished desired project. You don't. But if you want to figure out all of this information and you don't want to change the size of the finished product, then you're going to have to do even more math. There's going to be more math involved, and I didn't want to go to an extreme level. If you get this, you can figure it out eventually. Another thing is this is also going to help you. This is how I figure out how much yarn that you're going to need in a project. And if you don't figure out even squares, even swatches in your project, then you are not going to have, you're not going to really be able to utilize my formula very well. You're not going to be able to have that number as accurately as I was able to figure it out. So you can do it, but this is the easiest way to incorporate it. So did you need to adjust the length for the swatches to fit lengthwise? And then the number of swatches lengthwise of the project times the number of rows that you counted in your swatch equals the number of rows that you will need to complete your project. And then here at the bottom, I created this for you. And it is kind of a guide. You can write in this, color it. add to it if you even want to, but number of swatches widthwise, number of swatches lengthwise, and you can like fill in, like color it in if you want to know how many swatches were this way, how many swatches were this way. And honestly, if you want to, you can even buy grid paper and use the grid paper for more squares if you want to like extend your project, make something bigger. Then here I said the size of the project will set the stage of how many swatches that will fit. Obviously, if your project is only 40 inches wide opposed to 72 inches wide, you're going to fit more swatches in 72 inches than you are in 40 inches. So, right. And then did you need to adjust the size of your finished project in order to make the swatches fit? Here you could even take this and say, this is my finished project. My finished project is going to be 60 inches wide by 72 inches long. Like if you want to put numbers in there, you can do that. All right. Last page is the money page. Last page is approximately how much yarn will I need? So last page is going to be the page that everybody wants to have the information for. Okay. So it starts out here with the number of swatches that fit widthwise. So how many swatches did we figure out went side to side? And we figured that out with how many chains did I need. So go back to chains. That answer will be there. We already know this answer. We figured that out with how many chains do I need. Okay. Times how many swatches fit lengthwise. We know that answer. We just figured that answer out with how many rows do I need to make. So go back and grab that number. Okay. So this number times this number equals how many swatches will fit in the whole project. So how many swatches will fit? How many swatches will we have in this whole project? Okay. Okay, great. We take this number, shoot it right here. Just place whatever number here, put it here. Times, oh, it's colored. It's color coded, guys. It's colored. So what does that mean? It's pink. So go back to page 1. Where's the pink? Pink. So take this number that's pink, plop it in the pink section. I color coded for you. Okay. So number of swatches that fit in the whole project times the amount of yarn that was in the swatch, not including that foundation row, equals the approximate amount of yarn you're going to need in the main body of your project. Okay. Then we come down here and we say, okay, well, the number of swatches widthwise of the project. Okay. So side to side, it's the same number that we got from chains times, oh, it's green. This one's green. So we come back. So it says amount of yarn that was in the foundation row of the swatch. So go back to page 1, find the green one, put that number here equals approximate amount of yarn that was in your foundation row. And then all you have to do is add the amount of yarn that was in the main body plus the amount of yarn that's in your foundation row equals approximate amount of yarn you're going to need for your whole project. And you can't really see it well, but I put a starburst over this answer because it's like the money. Yep, there you go. A little bit. I faded it so it wasn't too obnoxious, but that's like the money number that everybody wants to know. There you go. Okay. How long is this video so far? It's 34 minutes, guys. I'm long-winded. I just like to talk, and I apologize. So let me go ahead and check for questions, and then I'm going to ask you, do you guys think I need to do an example? Be prepared for that. Do you think I need to do an example, or do you think you get it? Be honest. If you don't, if you need me to do one, tell me. I'm here. I'm here for you right now. Hey, thank you, Mary. You're so supportive. Okay. Yes, the color coding makes it easier for me as I use color coding systems quite a lot. Good. Okay, yeah, I really wanted to I know that math is not the strong suit for so many people. Honestly, most people just don't click. It doesn't click. And that's okay. I don't want anyone to feel like they're the problem or they're the issue. You're not. You're not. This is not going to work for some people. And I understand that. All I can do is show you what I do. That's all I can do. I'm just showing you what I do. And I showed you in a video physically, like me working through my process. That was the Switch series. And then I wrote down everything I do in step form. And then I tried to, like I said, color code and have pictures and add little hints and hey, did you need to do this? Hey, did you need to do this? And then even this guy, Blair, this guy. So I'm really hoping that even if math is not something that works for you, you're just really not good at math, that it can at least be something you might be able to walk through. Maybe practice it a couple times. Practicing will be a big deal. Start with simpler stuff. Maybe start with just single crochet stitches. Maybe make a 4-inch by 4-inch, literally like that big. It won't take you any time at all, of single crochet stitches. And then just be like, okay, I did this. And then fill in the information as if you were trying to get the information from the swatch, just as a practice, just practice. And then try one with a multiple stitch count requirement. And then just something super simple, super easy. Maybe go back to one of my Technique Tuesday videos for a swatch that maybe you enjoyed making and that had a multiple stitch count requirement. And then just make a little something and practice. And eventually it'll be like, oh, I get it. And you'll have that light bulb moment. It will click. And then all of a sudden, everything will change for you. And if you're somebody that definitely wants to write your own patterns, definitely wants to sell your own patterns, which I'm hoping to help you guys with big time next year, 2023, that is something I really want to, a direction I really want to go in, is helping you guys to go to the next step. Practice this. Just practice. Okay. You'll get it. I promise. Just a sample. Okay. Visual is better for me. Okay. I would watch you do a sample. Okay. Totally get it. All right. Visual along with the written. Yes, please do a sample. As a lefty, watching. Interesting mirrors. That's interesting. Okay. Can you use this for rounds? So Elizabeth, rounds are different. Rounds is a completely different math formula. And I have a plan to do that. I'm thinking I want to do just a simple round, just kind of show people how to work like a round. And then I'm going to translate that into like, if you want to, well, I think the simple round will be like, I'll do just a small section, be like, okay, now you'll take this and just continue the math on and on and on. If you want to make like a round blanket or a round rug or a mat or a placemat, anything round. And then I will stem from the round to beanies. Okay, so I'm going to kind of make that transition. I'm also going to want, people have also asked me about corner to corners and how you can figure out the math for corner to corners. And I do have a formula. I do have an idea on how to do that, but that too in itself is its own formula because they're worked up differently. They're just worked up differently. Okay, so I am so excited that you asked about rounds. It's coming. It is. And that is my thought process behind that. I'm going to do rounds and let you guys decide how you want to do rounds. And then that's going to transition into beanies. Okay. Okay. Oh, I need this. Yes, please feel free to grab the Swatch formula sheet. It's free on my website, crochetwithtiffany.com, under resources. It's at the bottom. Don't forget the sweaters. Yes, Donna, I'm not going to forget the sweaters. And honestly, Donna, I'm glad you asked. That's a great thing. Okay, so can you elaborate on how you want to do separate or sweaters differently? Because here's what I'm thinking. Most sweater patterns, most top patterns, cardigans, okay, you guys remember these guys? Okay, so here I have the campfire cardigan. I still have it. And then you've got the Nubu tank top. Okay, so hang that right there. I'm gonna scoot. Okay, so we're not looking at the campfire cardigan as the granny square hexagon shape. I don't want you to look at the granny square hexagon shape. I want you to look at the panels. Rectangle. Hope this works. Okay. Rectangle. Okay. So a lot of the cardigans that I've been seeing, a lot of the patterns that I've been looking at for a cardigan, it's literally rectangle. And then the front, don't fall. And then the front is literally rectangle. Okay. So there's that. And then seriously, with my Nubu tank top, up to this point right here, this right here, rectangle. That's it. So rectangle one side, rectangle this side. And then when it comes to the points here, I now know from my swatch that I've made, because this Nubu tank top is all, I think it's half double crochet stitches. From my swatch, I can figure out every inch I have this many stitches. So for here, I would probably write this up in the pattern, or even if I make this going forward, I would just measure every row has this many stitches in it. Then every row has this many stitches, and it's going to shrink. And it's going to tell me how many stitches. And then it's going to tell me, because here I just decreased one on this side, one on this side, each row all the way up till it hit a point. So then you'll know, oh, I subtract 2, then subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2, and then it will all kind of come together. Now, when it comes to making garments like this with the triangles, and if you're making any kind of top where it has like the curve, Barrett, no, where if you see the pattern and the front panel, it's not a straight rectangle. It has like that curve for the armhole. Avoid those as a beginner. Start with patterns where everything is just very blocky. They're still beautiful. They're still great. In fact, I have so many pattern books over there where a lot of the tops are literally like rectangular strip, join it together. And so they're all rectangles. So you can use these swatches, this method I just showed you, like draw out the project you want to do and then find out how many swatches will fit in your project. So Yeah. Sorry, I'm hoping that was not like too crazy. Oh, did somebody worry about the basket? A basket video. I have the boho basket, Carrie. Yeah, check out my boho basket. Okay, so let me go back to questions. Donna for sweaters. Can this worksheet be useful for different colors in the project? Okay, so that's a great question. So, so when you're working up different colors in a project, I would work up the swatch the exact same way that the project would ask. So, this is going to work really well with if the whole pattern is going to be the same. If you're going to change up the colors, see how many rows are in your swatch. So if your swatch comes out with like 10 rows, and in the project itself, it has like two color changes, and it color changes every row, then I would take the swatch and know that my swatch, like I would half it in a way, like, okay, if my swatch has 10 rows and half of those are red, then my swatch is 4 inches tall, then every 2 inches is red. Kind of math. Let me write that down for you. How to incorporate color changes in the swatch making method. Anyone else have any ideas? How to incorporate taking into consideration color changes in the project. Honestly, Sharanya, you ask great questions. You do. What I would probably do is I would work up all the numbers, all the information as if it was one solid color. Okay. Then I'd work backwards. So you now know for this whole project that I am making, were you asking for a blanket or a top or just in general? Yes, it can be a lot of math, but it will all kind of make sense on why. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I understand why. Okay, so you said, Sharanya, useful for different colors in the project. So what I would do, honestly, just kind of had a light bulb moment. I would work up the whole project as if it was one color. So now you know all the information, right? You know how many rows you're going to need to make to accomplish your project. You know how many stitches you're going to need to accomplish each row. You're going to know approximately how much yarn you're going to need for the entire project. Then I would take the whole project information that I now know, and I'd be like, well, what if I want 2 colors? Now just take the amount of yarn that you need, divide it in half. Half of that I'll do one color, half of that I'll do another color. Okay, does that help? And unless you're planning on doing like dominantly blue and one strip of white, then I would just kind of like take the overall number of amount of material, amount of yarn that I need for the project, and I would kind of figure out how I want to work different colors. And then from that total number, I would just divide out. I want 30% of my blanket to be color A, 30% of my blanket to be color B, 30% of my blanket to be color C. So Sharani, you just went ahead and leveled this up a whole other step further. I hope that makes sense. The other thing that I've considered too is if you're working 2 different patterns in the same project, which I'm sure you've seen that done as well, where there's like 2 or 3 different patterns worked in the project. What I would personally do is I'd work the swatch up for each pattern done in the project. get the information you need from that swatch. That way, you know, when you draw up the project, you'll know, okay, I have 3 sections of pattern A, and pattern A is going to require this much yarn. I have this many sections of pattern B, and pattern B is this color. I'm going to need this much yarn. So I would work up a swatch for each section. That way you can break down the project to know the exact information you need for the entire project. And then just add the different sections together for your total project. Again, it'll be okay. It will be okay. Okay. Donna, pullovers more for men than women. Oh, that's even more blocky. Because women are hard, because women want tapered, women want form-fitting, women want arms that taper and angle to fit the arm. Men are just like block it, like just blocky shapes. Men are going to be your easiest way of getting this swatch method to work for you, because literally it's going to be rectangle, rectangle, joined together. And then the arms itself, treat the arms as if it was one rectangle that was folded in half lengthwise and then attached, joined here at the shoulder for your numbers. Okay. Because literally that's what you're going to be doing, getting it around. Okay. And then I will go ahead, and I do have intentions. I have it written down. I want to do a sweater series for you guys as well. Let me write down men's sweaters for you, Donna. Because I think the front panel, back panel are pretty self-explanatory. The collars, I'm going to go over collars where it's a little more loopy if you want it. And I'll go over arms just to help you out with that too. Men's pullover sweaters. Okay. And any other questions before? Because everybody, it looks like everybody was like, please do an example. So I'm going to do that with you guys. Pullover sweaters. Okay. Remember, if you are just watching the chat and you have a question, please put a whole bunch of question marks before the question to draw my eye to it. So that way, oh, I'm sorry, Mary. So that way I am drawn to your question and I don't miss it. Color markers to see what it looks like. Yeah. Oh, I do that all the time. I will draw things up my blanket out, or I'll draw the image out of what I want to make on grid paper, because grids are squares and that's essentially a swatch, right? And that'll help me with information. And then I color it with colored markers or colored pencils. Okay, unless you're using different stitches for different colors, the yarn amounts per swatch in your project should be the same. Yarn amounts per swatch. Different stitches. There are yarn eater stitches and there are stitches that are not. So I think that doing a different swatch for a different pattern would be helpful to know how much yarn was used in that swatch. So that way you can have that number be as accurate as possible. Because some will require a little bit more than others. Okay. Okay, is there a printable sheet? Yes. Go to my website, crochetwithtiffany.com. Click under resources. It's at the very bottom. It's free. Click out as many as you want. I would print it out on, I would print it double-sided because there's a total of 4 sheets. And I personally would probably put it on a thicker paper just so that way your numbers and everything don't like show through on the other side of the paper. If you bark. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so let's go ahead and okay, you guys let me know. Do you want me to do the half double crochet swatch example, or do you want me to do the closed scallop example with the multiple stitch count requirement? Which one do you want? Which one you want? Let me know. I got them both. HTC. Okay. Hi, Jackie. I'm glad you could make it. So yeah, which example do you want me to see? So I have, Rita says half double crochet stitch swatch. Is that the unanimous kind of vote? I know, right? We can start with one. I'm glad you like the sheet, Jackie. Okay. Thing with my lives and everything is I don't want to go too long, but I also want to make sure I get the information to you guys so that way you know how to use it. Okay, let me go ahead and start with the half double crochet. And then if I just say, you know what, if people want to watch this, they can watch it. If they don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. Then cool. Okay, so we're going to start with a half double crochet stitch. So pattern used. Let's do a colored pen. Let's do blue because blue is calming. HDC stitch. So half double crochet stitch. The yarn that I used to make those was just a size 4 weight yarn. And I think I used Loops and Threads Impeccable. Okay. And then the hook that I used was, I think I actually wrote down some of this. Nope. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to say H8 5mm crochet hook. All right. And the multiple stitch count requirement, there was none. No multiple stitch count requirement. My handwriting is going to be really bad because I'm rushing. Okay. Cool. All right. Then first thing here says how many chains in the foundation row? And I'm getting all of this information from video 3 of the Swatch series. I have pictures of the board that I wrote up through all of the steps. So all of these numbers should sound very repetitive. And if you want, you can take your example forward to that video and just kind of like rewatch it. And hopefully having something physical while watching something visual will help make that connection. Okay. So how many chains in the foundation row of this? Oh, first of all, the swatch itself was 4.5 inches wide. That will help. And it was 4 inches long. Okay. Each. Okay, so chains. Inches. So there were 14. I chained 15, but that was because I chained 1 for the turning chain. So I chained 15 in my foundation row. 1, 5. How many stitches? Multiples in row 1. There were 14. I'm going to actually write with the thicker. I'm writing with the thinner because that's what I usually do. There we go. There we go. 14 stitches in row 1. How many rows in the full swatch? There were a total of 10 rows. and the whole swatch. How much yarn was in your full swatch, not including the foundation row? Oh. 1 second, my computer's going to die. That would be so bad. Right as I'm in the middle of showing you guys how to do this. You're making more swatches. Are you making more swatches? No, I'm not making more. One of those swatches was the half double crochet stitch swatch. Okay. How much yarn was in the full swatch, not included in the foundation row? And we figured out that information. Again, we did all this in video 3. So we found out that there were 14.33 yards of yarn. And of course, we could then convert to all of the other answers based on the yarn label. Foundation row had 0.64 yards of yarn. Okay, so again, this is sheet 1, half double crochet stitch swatch, all of the information there to help us move forward. And while I'm holding this up, I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat real quick. Tough decision. Reminder, if you're trying to watch and you are struggling to chat at all, in order for me to do this live, because I'm a lone wolf, I'm doing this all by myself right now, and I didn't want any scammers or anyone like interrupting, I made the chat subscribers only. So if you don't want to subscribe to my channel, I respect that, but you're going to have to wait for my video to finish, and then you can comment in the comment section below the video any questions that you might have. Hey, are you wearing leg warmers? Did you make them? Yes, I am. No, I did not. I do want to make leg warmers. They're hopefully going to be a tutorial I'm going to do in December. Mary saw it. Oh, I'm glad you think they're cute. Okay, how did you figure that yarn count? Watch video 3 of my Swatch series. It'll all make sense. How important is the yardage in the overall worksheet? What is the yardage in the overall worksheet? Really, the yardage only comes into play if you want to know how much yarn you're going to need for your project. How did you figure that yarn count? Oh, I just got a message that blinked at me saying my connection was a bit unstable, but then it went away. Am I coming up clear? Okay. Am I coming up clear, or am I still kind of spotty? You're so welcome, Lupe. You're good now. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think my computer was just about to die when I noticed that my computer battery was low. So when I like rushed to plug it in, that might have been the connection disconnect there, but now everything should be okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. So moving on. So next page. Again, you can find the Swatch Formula Worksheet. It's free on my website, crochetwithtiffany.com, under resources. It's at the very bottom. Okay, so page 2. How many chains in foundation row? So we decided that we were going to make a receiving blanket. So we wanted to make a receiving blanket, and the receiving blanket is roughly about 40 inches by 40 inches. The blanket sizing chart that I referenced is in video 3. I put a link to the exact blanket sizing chart that I reference all the time in the description section and comment section below that video. So you just click on that. It takes you to Pinterest, where I grabbed it from, and you can print off that sizing chart if you'd like. But again, I made the Swatch Formula Worksheet applicable to any project that's made with rectangles or squares and not just blankets. So that's why I said projects and not blankets. And that's also why I didn't include any charts along with it, because I'm making it open-ended. Okay. Project desired width. So desired width is 40 inches wide. How wide was the swatch? 4.5 inches wide. We did determine that doesn't work evenly. And again, for me, this whole formula, this whole process, I'm showing you, not making you do it. I'm not making you do it, but I'm showing you how I do what I do. This needs to be an even number. There needs to be an even number of swatches along the bottom for the numbers to equate. So that didn't work. We ended up having to change the number to 45. And I know that PJ is going to watch this and she's going to laugh at me. She'd be like, Tiffany, we talked about this. There's a different number. And I'm going to be like, well, you're right. But I am going to just go quickly off this so I'm not having to do a bunch of math in my head. Okay, so we determined that 40 didn't work. We had to change it to 45. There we go. 45. So just cross it off. 45. 45 divided by 4.5 does evenly equate to 10. Now, if you want to, at this step, go here to page 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ten swatches. Number of swatches, 10. That's page 3. Okay. All right, so then each swatch has blank stitches or multiples across. Page 1. How many stitches are in row 1? 14. Okay, so I'm going to write 14. Yes. Crafty Graham. Yes, leg warmers they're a lot of fun. I'm hoping to make a pair of leg warmers that are friendly for all calf widths, because I know I come from a family where all of our calves are larger, so we can't wear a lot of tall boots. We can't wear, some leggings, some leg warmers and stuff, they don't even fit because they're too thin. So I'm hoping to make something that can be adjustable or wearable by women of all sizes. Oh, Mary. Okay. And if you want to join them, they are the same size and connect correctly. Cool. Be flexible, people. Okay. So, how many swatches wide? How many swatches wide? So, the arrow, poop, right there. 10 times, blue number. It's blue. Remember, I color coded. So how many stitches or multiples in one row of swatch? We go to page 1. We find the blue font, blue font. Where are you? Blue font. Blue font. Okay. Because I color coded. So where's blue font? How many stitches in row 1? 14. Okay. 10 times 14 is 140. I'm like looking at this right now. And receiving rows. Okay. Then how many stitches multiples in each row? Arrow, bloop, 140. Right here, additional stitches in foundation row for turning chain, like the +1. So for me, I did, if you noticed, remember here, there was no multiple stitch count requirement. There really isn't. But for me, I started off chaining 15, but in row 1, I had 14. So there's one stitch that was my turning chain. The one stitch that was my turning chain. Okay. So 141. So 141 is the number of chains that I will need to chain to make this blanket meet dimension. I love it. Cool. You guys ready to move on? And you can always come back to this video if you wanted to input this information but didn't print these out and you want to come back and print these out. Okay, so next, page 3 is how many rows. Desired project length. Well, we decided that we were making a receiving blanket, and the receiving blanket was 40 inches wide by 40 inches tall. We did already adjust this to 45 because swatch fitting. So 4, 5. But desired, we want it to be 40. Okay, so 40 divided by how long was the swatch. Go back to page 1. Our swatch was 4 inches long. Hi, Marla. Yes, we're at school today. So 40 divided by 4, 10. Sweet. Okay, so then I'll come back here and lengthwise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. There we go. And write the number 10 there as well. Cool. So now we have kind of like a visual of our project. So receiving blanket. If you want to label. Okay, so this number 10, we're going to drop it right here. Oh, it's color coded. It's orange. So go back to page 1. Find the letters that are orange. Letters that are orange says how many rows in full swatch? Number rows per swatch. I said 10. So I'm going to write 10. Okay. 10 times 10 equals 100. The number of rows you will need in your whole blanket to meet dimension. How's everybody doing so far? And please remember, please. Some people just don't get math. And if you're like following along and you're like, you are trying, but I'm not getting it, it's okay. There's going to be a lot of people that don't get this. There's going to be a lot of people that don't get this. So don't feel like you're singled out. Don't feel down on yourself. Empower yourself. You're okay. You're fine. Again, this is for people that just want to know this information. If you can't get it, I will always provide this information to you in my projects and in my tutorials. Okay. So, and if you want to practice, I encourage you to do that as well. You know, print out as many of these as you want and just practice. Okay. So it's not something you have to do. It's just something that would be great to empower yourself if you want to know this information for making whatever it is you want to make. All right, so last page, guys. Last page is the money page. Last page is how much yarn am I going to need to make that project? The thing that everybody wants to know, right? Okay, so number 1 says the number of swatches that fit widthwise. All right, let's go back to our cool little diagram here. Number of swatches widthwise, 10. Number of swatches lengthwise. Back to our picture. Number of swatches lengthwise, 10. 10. 10 times 10, 100. Cool. So that just means, there we go. That just means if I were to cap out this whole receiving size blanket, 10 times 10, there's 100 squares to make this blanket. There's 100 squares to make this project. Okay, there's 100 swatches, 100 swatches. Okay, so there's 100 swatches. There's 100 of these. Arrow. Plop. $100. Pink. It's color coded. It's pink. Page 1. Go. Where's the pink? Where's the pink? Pink. Pink. How much yarn was in a full swatch, not including the foundation row? So 14.33. So where it's pink here, $14.33, okay, equals, Tasha, shh. You say those words and people freak out. Okay. All right, so it's 1,433 yards. 1,433 yards of yarn. Okay, well, there's still more math. And you're like, wait a second, I'm not done. No, you're not. Ha, psych. Number of swatches, widthwise of project. Okay. Go back here. Number of swatches widthwise, 10. Okay. It's green. It's green. Page 1. Page 1 has all the colors. So green is here. How much yarn in the foundation row? 0.64. And that's yards. I'll put the S in there for you. There you go. I know somebody would say something. Okay, so where we're at. So 10 times 0.64 equals, I'm live, so I want to make sure I don't mess up on the math, 4 yards. There we go. Cool. Okay, there's one more formula we have to do. Amount of yarn for the full project, 1,433 Amount of yarn for foundation row. $6.4. That equals. Give people enough time to actually write things down. 1,439.4 yards of yarn to make this receiving size blanket. I apologize for my handwriting. There you go. All right, now if you still need some time to write anything in, and like I said, if you want to go back to my website, print off a bunch of sheets, and then come back through this video, and you can pause and you can input any information that you want and have it saved as an example. And remember, all of the numbers, all of the information that I got for this swatch was in video 3 of my Swatch series, where I show you how I got those numbers. Okay, so there you go. Oh, you poor thing. Charmaine, carpal tunnel. Ugh. No. Okay. Now, the only reason why I'm going to go ahead and repeat this process, I'm going to speed through some of it just because it's redundant, but I want to do this again, but I want to do it with the multiple stitch count requirement. So that way you guys understand what I meant by the use of multiples when I say here, how many stitches or multiples. So you guys know how to utilize that, use that. Okay. So number 2. Feeling we're an hour and 21 minutes in. Around. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping that I am helping. I really do. I really like making this worksheet for you guys, me going through these steps, these examples with you. Really trying to be helpful. And again, if you don't get it, that's so okay. That's so okay. Do not feel down. Do not be discouraged. Okay, so swatch number 2, we used the closed scallop stitch. So let me write. So new worksheet. The pattern used was the closed scallop stitch. Oopsie. I'm like, that bold looks awful. Closed scallop stitch. Now, again, you could absolutely take this spot right here and write out row 1, row 2, the steps, how to actually accomplish this stitch. You can do that. Again, if you want to, you can even grab some scrap paper and just like staple it to this worksheet if you want to. For more instructions on how to do the stitch for future reference, feel free to do that as well. But for me, honestly, I'll oftentimes just be like, this is the stitch I used. It's from this book, page this. And it makes things go faster. Okay, so swatch for the closed scallop stitch. Here we go. Okay, so this closed scallop stitch ended up being 4.5 inches wide and 4.5 inches long. So filling in the width and the length here. All right. Then the yarn used was the same as before. So it was the size 4 weight yarn, loops and threads. Again, remember that we want to identify the exact brand and everything because depending on brands, it can be lighter or thicker. So size 4 weight for then loops and thread. Okay. And then I used the H8 5mm crochet hook. So again, important to fill in all the information so when you come back, you know exactly what you used to achieve that look of the swatch and get all of the information that you need for the project moving forward. It's a real pain in the butt when you don't write something because you're like, I'll remember. You often don't. I often don't. Especially when I come back to this like a year later and I'm like, dang it. Okay, so the multiple stitch count requirement was a multiple of 6 plus 1. There we go. It was a multiple of 6 plus 1. Okay, so now we have everything written down. Awesome. Oh no, Jackie. Oh no. Oh, Sharon, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Glad you can make it. Remember, members, go crazy with your emojis. Now's the time. Okay. Now we're into answering these questions, filling them out. So how many chains in foundation row? I figured out that my foundation row, so I did 3 multiples. How many? Okay, so I did 3 multiples across and then the plus 1. So that was 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is 18. Plus 1 is 19. Okay. How many stitches or multiples in each row? For the closed scallop stitch, I had 3 multiples across. So 3 multiples. Okay. Depending on the stitch that you're working, it may be very difficult to identify the number of stitches, or it actually might throw everything off if you just identify how many stitches are in each row, because it could vary, it could be different depending on the pattern that you're trying to create, but we can identify the multiples. So here there are 3 multiples. All right. And again, if I'm losing you with a lot of this information, like, but why, but how, watch video 3 of the Swatch series. Okay. How many rows in full swatch? How many rows? 9 rows. Okay. How much yarn was just in the swatch, not including the foundation row? 15 yards. And remember to label your numbers. It's going to be big, big help. Because when you just get a bunch of numbers together and you haven't labeled them, it's easy to be like, well, what does that mean? Like, I got this number. That's awesome. But what does it represent? Make sure you attach some kind of identifying metric. And then green, how much yarn was in the foundation row? 0.78 yards. There we go. Sorry. Cool. Okay, now we have all of the information that we need to move forward. Okay, so page 2. All right, so the project that we ended up wanting to make for the closed scallop stitch was a bit bigger because I wanted to be more realistic in projects that you may want to make. And so we worked with the large throw blanket. So I'm going to write that up at the top. And the large throw blanket measures 60 inches wide by 72 inches long. Here we go. Right here. Right here. Okay. Question 1. Desired project width. 60 inches. Okay, so 60 divided by the width of the swatch. Page 1. Wide 4.5. Was this even? Nope. Unfortunately, it was not. So we ended up having to change the, what color do I want to use? Let's do red. 60 inches wide. We had to change it to 63 inches wide in order for the math to work, where 4.5 would evenly fit into it. So 63. Okay, so 63 divided by 4.5 ended up being 14. How you guys doing? Checking back in with you. How you guys doing? Oh, bye, Tasha. I'm sorry that you had to go. Okay, so 14. Woo, follow the arrow, drops down here. Okay. Did we need to adjust? Yes, we did, from 60 to 63. Each swatch has blank multiples across. 3. How many stitches multiples in row 1 of swatch? 3. And again, it's color coded. So we literally could just go to page 1 and find the blue and plug blue in with blue. Okay. 14 times 3. 42. Oh boy. Dang. Okay. 42. How many stitches multiples in each row? Oh, how many multiples? So there's 42 multiples of 3 across a row. Okay. So we're going to drop that down here. 42. Any additional stitches in foundation row for turning chain? Well, let's go back to our swatch. Multiple stitch count requirement is a multiple of 6 plus 1. So here we would add the plus 1. Okay. Now, it's here that's going to be the most important. It's a little different because here we are working with the multiples. I did put a reminder that the multiples just mean the number of stitches we had to multiply over and over and over to achieve the stitch pattern that we want. So here I would honestly do 42 times 6 because the pattern is a multiple of 6. Multiple of 6. So if there's 42 multiples and there's 6 stitches in each multiple, that equals 252 stitches. That's going to be important in our foundation row chain to chain that many so we can make sure that many multiples will fit. Okay, so then 253 chains in foundation. Okay. Yes, I appreciate you saying that, Jackie, because we're an hour 35 and here I am being a YouTube content creator and I'm like, this is running forever. Nobody's going to want to watch this because they're going to look at the time and be like, nope. But I'm hoping that I'm just getting the point across. I'm showing you how to do it and it doesn't matter how long it takes as long as the point and the lesson and the information gets across, right? Okay, so next page is how many rows will we need to make for the blanket? So, desired project length. Okay. Well, we're making a large throw blanket, and the large throw blanket says 72 inches long. So we're going to type or write in 72. The length of the swatch was 4.5. Oh, and this is in inches here. I'm going to go ahead and do the inch symbol. So 72 divided by 4.5. Yay, it fits evenly, so we don't have to make any adjustments. And that's 16. So 16 swatches up and down. So here we got 16 and 14. So if you want to come here, it was 14 swatches wide, 16 swatches lengthwise. All right. Okay, then we just drop that 16 right here, follow the arrow. Okay, color-coded orange. Page 1 has all of the colors. So we go to page 1. Where's the orange? Oh, there's orange. 9. So I plug the number 9 in right there. That equals 144 rows. Wink. Cool. Give me thumbs up if you are following, thumbs down if you're not, if it's like nope. And like I don't know, just kind of give me a wink if you're like, I'm just enjoying this. All right, last page, guys, and then we're done. So last page here is the amount of yarn. So number of swatches widthwise. Number swatches widthwise. 14. Number swatches lengthwise. Number swatches lengthwise. 16. All right. 14 wide times 16 long is 224. That's how many swatches would fit in an entire blanket for a large adult throw blanket using the closed scallop stitch. All right, so we're going to take this number and we're going to drop down. Boom, follow the arrow. Follow the arrow. All right, up. It's color-coded. It's pink. Page 1. Page 1. Where's pink? Pink. 15 yards. Okay. number of swatches in the entire blanket times 15 yards, which is how much yarn was in each swatch. It's a big number. 3,360 yards of yarn just for the main body of the blanket. Yeah, Rita, you're definitely going to want to check out my Swatch series after this, video 3. Everything will make sense. Everything will make sense when you do that. Okay, so that's how much yarn is in the main body. Next question here, number of swatches widthwise of the project. Okay, so come back to you. Number of swatches widthwise, so 14. Okay, 14 swatches across the whole bottom of the project. Oh, it's color-coded. It's green, so it's a different color. And I apologize if you don't have a color printer and you print this out and you're like, Tiffany, you said it's color-coded, but I don't have a color printer. So everything is the same color. Then I recommend you going back to the digital, like looking at it on the computer, pulling out your markers and color coding what you see on the computer with your document so that you can continue the color coding. Okay, so amount of yarn in foundation row of swatch, it's green. How much yarn is in the foundation row? 0.78. Bye, Sharanya. I'm glad you could make it. Okay, so 14 times 0.78 equals 10.92 yards. Here we go. So now we have the total amount of yarn that we would need in the whole main part of the blanket. We have the amount of yarn we would need to make that foundation row chain. Isn't that crazy? That just to make the foundation row chain would take almost 11 yards of yarn. Isn't that nuts? Last thing we do is we just add these two numbers together, and that will tell us the amount of yarn we're going to need for the whole project. So amount of yarn for whole body is 3,360. Amount of yarn for foundation row was 10.92. So let me go ahead and show you. Oh, and I don't think you'll see the thumbs up yet. The thumbs up, I think, will come after the video. I've done finishing the live. So this plus this equals grand total. Ended up being 3,370.92 yards yarn for the entire project. All right, guys. And with that, now I have shown you how to fill in the form, how to fill in this worksheet. I've shown you how to work with a pattern that doesn't really have a multiple stitch count requirement, and how even though it didn't have a multiple stitch count requirement, we noticed that there was still that one turning chain from the foundation row chain to row 1. How there are 15 chains, but only 14 stitches in row 1. So to account for that, when figuring out how many chains you need to make across, so that way you know how many you're going to need to make, so you don't like cut into your work when you go on to row 1. That's the only thing I would really want to point out for a project that is worked with a stitch that really doesn't have a multiple stitch count requirement, is to just account for how many chains are you going to need to get to the next row off of the foundation row, so you know what to chain. And if it doesn't really matter, then don't worry about it. Just put 0. Yeah, I mean, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. because one chain could really just affect a fraction of an inch. All right, and then I also showed you how to work up the whole formula using the multiple stitch count requirement of, a stitch that needs a specific number of stitches in order to actually happen. Because if we don't have the amount of stitches to satisfy that pattern, then it's not going to work and you're going to end up frustrating yourself deeply. I've been there. I've done that. I've created really ugly pieces of work because I didn't account for a stitch count requirement and I ended up cutting partially through a stitch. And sometimes it didn't even work. So then, frustration of undoing a lot. The big thing with the multiple stitch count requirement is here converting the number of multiples, multiplying it to stitches, converting it from number of multiples to stitches. There are this many multiples. Each multiple had 6 stitches. I might actually fix the pattern and I'm going to actually put this in there. I'm going to add an extra spot and I'm going to include this in there and I'm going to re-upload it for you guys. So that way this is here in case you are working with a multiple and you need to convert the multiple to stitches. So you know how many chains you need to chain in the foundation row. Okay, so glad I worked this out with you. So I know I need to add that and fix the pattern a little bit. So does anybody have any questions? You tried sending a super chat, but don't have PayPal or credit card. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much, Marla. Okay, so I think one thing you could do is, have you ever heard of super thanks? So on videos that are not live, and even this video after I'm done going live and it just uploads as regular to my YouTube channel, right below where it's got the like, the subscribe, and all the things, there is a super thanks. And that is a way that you could essentially give me a super chat, but it's different from super chat. It's still a way of like just saying thank you with a monetary value. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means a lot, Marla. All right. So I have gauge issues. I used 4mm hook as per pattern. Okay. I can get the right number of rows for 4-inch swatch, get the right number of rows, but 18 stitches is bigger than 4 inches. I changed the hook, same problem. 14mm. All right. So, oh, Mary, thank you so much. You're the best. Okay. So Miss Muffet's stitches, I'm seeing that you're trying to acquire the gauge that a pattern, or I'm assuming that you are looking at a swatch connected to a pattern, and this was the gauge that the pattern said, and you're trying to meet it. And the way you're trying to meet it is you went down. Wait. I get the right number, but it's bigger. I changed hook size. Yeah, changed hook size, but are using 4. So you're still using the 4mm crochet hook. Help me out, Miss Muffet's stitches. I don't know if that was a typo or what here, because you're still using, you wrote down in the message or the chat that you're still using the same crochet hook size. Maybe that's different. Oh, 4.25 inch, but it went. $18 stitches. Yeah. I can get the right number. Okay. So you're still just slightly above at 4.25. Try going down 1 more crochet hook size. There you go. Okay. I figured. I was like, okay. So 3.5mm or a 5-inch. Gotcha. Okay. So, shoot. Okay, so in that case, maybe what they were working with and what you're working with yarn wise, maybe the material is just a little bit thicker, slightly, and that's totally a thing. It really is. Maybe if you can consider possibly changing the brand of the material that you're using, maybe make a swatch, see if it made any difference. I mean, it could potentially honestly be the yarn. Like I said, last year I made stockings for my whole family, and they were all the same brand. They were all the same size. Everything was the same except for one stocking was a multicolor, and that stocking for some reason turned out a lot smaller than all the others. And I was like, what happened? Nothing changed. It could potentially be the yarn. So maybe play with the yarn also. Because I would hate for you to have to go smaller than a 3.5 millimeter. I mean, you can, but I don't know what you're making, and that could be uncomfortable. Buy a coffee. I will. I'll get a Frappuccino. Oh my gosh, Lena. I'm going to buy lots of coffee. Coffee. Cappuccino. Java. Yes. I am a beginner crocheter and have really enjoyed all your tutorials. Thanks for taking the time and patience to create these awesome videos. You are more than welcome, Lena. Thank you so much for watching them. I mean, honestly, I could speak till I'm blue in the face, but unless somebody is taking the time to actually listen, nothing's going to happen. So thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you. And thank you, Mary. And thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you, Miss Muffet Stitches, for even asking me that question and being here. Okay, I called for number 3, and that's what I use. Yeah. So like I said, it could be the brand. It could be the brand of the yarn. That's different. So maybe play with it. Maybe find another 3 that's a different brand. Another 3 weight yarn that's a different brand. Make a little swatch. See if it made any difference. If it didn't make any difference, then maybe try going down a crochet hook size again. Should be, I mean, I don't know what you're making, but it might be what you got to do to hit gauge. Even same brand yarn, but variegated versus solid kin. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, right there. My stocking situation. Yes, it's the same brand, but it was and same size. All of it was a size 4 weight yarn. And it was just that the one was multicolored, variegated. It was different. Maybe just give another size 3 yarn a try. I know, right? Crazy. It was an embarrassing story right here. I was commissioned to make stockings for a family. Their grandmother used to make stockings for everybody in the family. She made them a specific way. So I was literally learning how grandma made stockings. It was a very different process, looked very different, but I was like fascinated. I was like, cool, I'll try to replicate what grandma used to make, and she passed away. They had new babies. They wanted to continue the tradition, asked me to make these stockings. And I bought all material, again, all the same brand. I kept everything the same weight, everything, but one stocking ended up being huge. And I was slightly embarrassed. And they noticed. They're like, why is that one so much bigger? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It was gauge. It was the yarn. The yarn did it. I used the same crochet hook, same brand, same weight. It was the yarn. So it surprises people. It does. Give it a try. See if that'll work. Process of elimination and figuring it out. I know, right? So weird. All right, guys, it's been almost 2 hours. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for being there with me and just walking out this process. I hope I was entertaining. I hope I made you laugh. I hope that you had fun these last 2 hours. And if you had to zoom forward or to meet up with me and didn't stick around the whole 2 hours, then I totally understand. But Mary, I know you've been here a while. And I know that, Crafty, Grammy, you've been here a while. And I mean, some of you have toughed it out. Thank you so much. Thank you for anyone who's watching the replay and watching this video. Thank you. I hope it made sense, and I hope that it will help you in growing with your ability with these swatches and pattern writing, because yeah, next thing we're going to tackle is rounds. It's going to be interesting, right? I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to go eat lunch. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you very, very soon. Bye. Oh boy.